Hello, everybody. Dr. McGuire again here with a cool interview today. It's kind of unique. My co-host, Sarah. How are you, Sarah?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So I can tell by the background you got your hat on, which is relevant to your job and your uniform. So let's just set the stage. You and I met about a month or two ago, correct?
Yeah, I'd say about a month.
Yeah, down in Maryland, specifically at Assateague Island. So before we talk about what you do, well, tell me what you do first, and then we'll touch base on the Assateague Island.
Yeah, so I am a horse management ranger here at Assateague Island National Seashore. So I am in charge of managing the herd of wild horses here. We have about 80 free roaming wild horses on the island, which is pretty cool.
Okay, and where exactly is Assateague Island located?
So Assateague Island is a 37-mile long barrier island that spans between Maryland and Virginia, and I'm in Berlin, Maryland. Mhm.
So, I knew that, but I wanted everybody to fully understand where it was located. Kind of cool because it's right on the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long have you been there?
So this is my second season here at Assateague. I was an intern here last summer. I came back as a salaried ranger, and I've been here for about 7 months.
Okay. So I always talk about careers and the uniqueness and it's just cool how different people have different jobs all around the country and the world. What made you, I don't know if this is your passion, but what drew you to where you are right now?
So it was actually the wild horses. I loved horses growing up, and I saw the opportunity to work with wild horses for the Park Service. And I was like, I'm going to apply for that. And sure enough, I got the position. I really enjoyed it last year, and I liked it enough to come back.
Awesome. So let's talk about education. Was there any education requirements for this position?
So last summer when I was an intern, you had to be a college student or a recent graduate. For the position that I'm in right now, you do need a 4-year degree for an entry-level GS5 position with the government.
Okay.
And
So
that degree can kind of be in whatever.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be biology. It doesn't have to be environmental science, as long as you have a 4-year degree.
Okay. So walk me through a typical day or season in what you do specifically there.
Mhm. So usually a seasonal position with the Park Service lasts for about 6 months. So usually like April, September to October-ish. So you're at a park during like the peak season when there's a lot of visitation. So here at Assateague, the summer months are crazy because we have the beach. We got a lot of people that like to come recreate, go surfing, swimming. Also, a lot of people come to see the horses. So in my position, I spend usually the whole 8-hour shift out on the island, patrolling, making sure that people are staying about 40 feet away from the horses, if not more, making sure that the horses aren't going through people's stuff, as well as just educating the visitors about the horses. That's a big component of the job also.
Hmm. So what are some of the things that you like? And I don't say dislike, don't care for.
Yeah, so I absolutely love to be outside, and that was a huge draw for me going into this career field. It's really unique. Like I said, I do get to spend like most of my 8-hour shift outside, which is really nice, but it's not for everyone. You do have to work in the extreme heat. Now that it's winter, it's cold, it's rainy, we're still going outside, so that isn't everyone's cup of tea. I also do really enjoy getting to meet new people. It was really nice to meet you. I mean, that's a great connection. Um, but it can kind of be a downside also. You meet a lot of people that just unfortunately don't respect our resources, and it's very sad to see.
Right. So in your role right now, what are your career opportunities, if any? Where do you want to go from here? If you had
So like I said, right now I'm a GS5, so I'm probably going to stay at GS5 for a couple more years. Right now I'm here for 1 year. My appointment is a 1-year term. So after that one year I'll probably go to another park. This horse management position is specific to this park, so I'll probably go into another park ranger position somewhere else. But there's so many opportunities. You can do backcountry patrol, you can do front country patrol. If you have a specific interest in history, you could go work at Gettysburg. So there's just so many opportunities. I'm not exactly sure where I'll land.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. Let me see if I can pull up a few pictures here.
Yeah.
That you sent me. Sorry. Got load a couple. All right. So can you see that picture?
Yeah. Yeah, I see that picture.
Hopefully everybody can, but fingers crossed. So that's just obviously just nature at its fine. Yeah.
So that is the Life of the Forest Trail. That's one of the 3 trails that we have on the island. It's got an elevated boardwalk. It's about half a mile long. It's very popular.
Okay, let's see what else we got. There we go.
So that is one of the wild horses, one of the mares in her foal from last summer. So the mare is Susie Soleil and the baby is Chief.
Now, these are good pictures, I think, for people who just want to gain a different perspective, right? High school students, particularly, because these are things they don't see. You can read about it and hear about it, but until you actually see it with your dialogue and in our conversation, it definitely gives it a different perspective. Oh, there we go.
Oh, the beach, yes. That's one of my favorite parts of living here is in the summer, I love to wake up early and go out to the beach and watch the sunrise in the morning.
Yeah,
It's
that's cool.
breathtaking.
It could, it may be that corporate 9-to-5 job, right?
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes if you're lucky enough, you will see the horses on the beach also, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. And so I pulled this up. So this is exactly where obviously the red there is where you are located.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to span out one more, I guess I didn't, a broader span. But so for everybody watching, you can see how close to the beach it is and how cool it is. So let's talk about, we talked about this before. So individuals, again, high school students, young adults who want to maybe pursue something like what you're doing or comparable, but under the government umbrella, right? We talked about, was it USA Jobs or US Jobs?
USA Jobs, yep.
So walk me through, you had told me that applying for a job within that world is different typically than applying for most jobs. So walk me through and what that looks like.
So for someone wanting to pursue potentially like Park Service, Forest Service, any sort of government land management agency career, my best recommendation is start working on your resume now. Any sort of opportunity to volunteer, get involved in your school, build your resume, take advantage of every opportunity. And once you do have that material, you're going to make an account on USA Jobs. And so once you have your account made, that's the hardest part, getting all of your information on there. And then there is a resume builder tool. You're going to want to use that tool because your federal resume looks a lot different than your standard 1 to 2 page resume. So they want the hours you've worked per week for every job that you've held within the last 10 years. They want phone numbers, they want addresses. If you use that resume builder tool, it's going to format everything because when you apply for jobs, a computer scans that first. And if you don't have all of the information, your resume will not make it to a hiring manager.
Sure.
So it's very important to use that tool, and that'll kind of give you an idea of what that resume should look like.
I think it's a great tool. It saves a lot of time in guessing, right? From
a lot of time, yeah.
Yeah. So
then,
go ahead.
And then the actual application process is really easy, very straightforward. So you just go on, you can add your resume right there that you've already made with the resume builder. And then usually there's just a few questions. It takes about 10 minutes per application.
Okay. So you said USA Jobs. Is that .gov or .org?
I believe it's .gov.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because, yeah,
Yeah, usajobs.gov.
okay, cool, cool. So we all talk about volunteering, right? But how does one pursue a volunteering opportunity in this case?
So it doesn't have to be with the federal government. So you can look up, conservation corps within your area. You can look up, if there's a wildlife society in your area, if there's an Audubon, anything that is related to the outdoors. See if there's an opportunity to get involved. Texas A&M has a really good resource. They have a job board, a conservation job board. They have a lot of postings. Also, the Student Conservation Corps, and then the Student Conservation Association is a really good resource too. So the SCA, they post a ton of different opportunities for young adults.
Is there a specific, like if somebody did a Google search, is there some buzzwords that they can use to fine tune their search for what you're talking about?
Yeah, so definitely go on the SCA website. They'll have all of their postings, but also maybe just conservation internship is a good word to use, or conservation volunteer work, anything along the lines of that.
Okay,
And don't get discouraged when you're applying too, because this is a very competitive field. When I was applying for my internship here, I applied to about 40 different postings and had 7 interviews and then got offered 3 positions. So
wow.
don't get discouraged.
No, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people just in the regular world, not even applying with the government, get discouraged, right? The Indeeds and
Yeah.
all those different platforms. So you said the process, as if I recall, takes a while,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, so for internships, the process can take a while. It kind of depends on what agency you're trying to volunteer with. With the government, it's probably going to take a little bit longer. Another thing that you can do is even just go to your local parks and
Mhm.
say, hey, like, is there any way I could come volunteer here? Local aquarium, anything like that.
And it looks good,
That might be a little bit faster. That might be a
right?
little
But
bit
it will look
faster.
good on your resume.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Are there a lot of paid internships? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just from what you know, if any, because everybody today wants to get paid, get paid, get paid.
Yeah, of course. So, yes and no. There are a lot of paid opportunities, but they're not hourly. They're usually stipends. Usually the stipend isn't a lot. If it's a live-in position, usually it's going to be enough to cover groceries and minor expenses.
Well, talk to
But
me about
unfortunately,
the live-in component, what you just said, because some may not understand what that exactly means.
so a lot of SCA positions, a lot of Park Service positions, if you're going to intern with them, they do offer housing a lot of times. And a lot of times for these like entry level positions, you might have to travel. So look in your local area, but if you also want the opportunity to travel, those opportunities are out there.
Okay.
And a lot of times there is housing wherever you will be working. So it's a perk for sure.
Well, that sounds like fun. Yeah, a perk. So let's get back to your position for a second. What, in terms of accountability, how are you measured? How are you evaluated, if any, when you do your job?
So I have supervisors that oversee my work. As a park ranger, you are out in the fields a lot by yourself or with a peer. But there are eyes and ears across the park from other divisions that are kind of keeping an eye on you also. But you have to be self-motivated and have the ability to have that drive and be able to, get stuff done, because
Right.
there won't be someone looking over your shoulder constantly.
All right, here's a question. What's the craziest thing you've seen?
Uh,
Now I'm putting you on the spot.
you know,
Interesting. Interesting.
we
Got it.
had they used to test munitions here in the 40s. So this summer we had some munitions wash up on our beach, and we would have to close the beach down. I think it happened 9 consecutive days in a row. Very interesting. We
Yeah.
also had our horses run 2 horses run across the bridge this summer off the island. I was actually sitting here in this office on the computer, looked up for a few seconds, looked out the window, saw 2 horses running through the visitor center parking lot, and I was just like, I'm not sure if I had enough coffee this morning.
Wow.
Because it's only happened once prior.
So how do you go
I think
about
in the
catching them
90s.
in that case?
So we have a portable corral that we set up around them, and then trailered them back onto the island.
Okay.
That was wild.
Yike, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What, um, so how about in terms of dealing with the public? How are they to work with?
We get a lot of visitors that are very interested in the horses. They're super into the history and learning about the science and how we manage the horses here. But there are a handful of people that unfortunately don't respect that. You need to stay 40 feet away. They'll try and get close to the horses, which is a problem because the horses bite, they kick, and they have trampled people before. So we try and maintain that boundary between horses and people. And that's a constant battle because people make that connection in their head. Horse, domesticated horse in my backyard, and they want to go pet it. And sometimes I feel like the bad guy when I go up and say, I'm sorry, ma'am, but unfortunately you can't go pet that horse, and I need you to come back up with me so we can give it its personal space.
You have to be the bad person.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I ask you that is because it's great of the nature setting and working with the animals, but because I asked you that, there is that consumer, that customer, that patron part of it that you have to deal with. So I'm glad you touched base on that.
Yeah.
So I did not ask you this before, and you can mull it over. Do you have any role models, or have you, or somebody you looked up to, or an influence?
I would say a lot of the division chiefs here. I won't use specific names,
Yeah.
but the chief of interpretation here is definitely a role model for me. She's always so happy and so excited when we're talking about different educational programs and we're doing anything here at the park. She's been here at Assateague for her entire Park Service career, which is kind of unusual. A lot of times people will bounce around, they'll go to 10 different parks in their career with the Park Service, but she's been an Assateague lifer, and it's great to see that.
And that will be a good recommendation letter, right?
Yeah.
if need be. All right. So one more question. It's a loaded question.
Okay.
If one is a junior or senior in that time frame, do you recommend them going to college?
I would say yes. Go to college. Your degree does not have to be super specific. You don't need to get like a wildlife biology degree. You can get a general biology degree and kind of take courses that interest you. And honestly, I would recommend doing that just so you can kind of get a different taste of a lot of different subjects and kind of see like what you really like doing versus what you're like, this is okay. Like
Even
I said,
though
it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but even though if they don't know what they want to do, you would recommend, right? I mean, there's no right or wrong answer, right?
I mean, if you don't want to go to college, you don't have to. You can go into an entry-level GS4 position and work your way up with time and experience rather than going into a GS5 position with a college degree. That is perfectly fine. The reason I say get a degree is in case you change your mind. And you kind of have that as a backup. This career field isn't for everyone. A lot of people don't like the reality that you might have to move every 6 months. and it's not just moving from one side of the state to the other. It might be moving from California to New Mexico to Florida to Maine. They're all over the country. And that is the reality of being a Park Service seasonal. A lot of permanent jobs require you to have 24 months of federal service before you can apply to them. That's not the case for everyone. There are some positions that are open to recent graduates or just open to the public. And if you're lucky enough to snag one of those, that's great. But a lot of times you will have to move every 6 months, or you might work for 6 months out of the year and then go and get a different job for the off season if you can't find a winter seasonal job.
Right. No, that makes sense. So would you say recommendations do they play a factor at all, you think, in these type of roles? When you are applying?
Like recommendations from
Yeah,
supervisors. I think once you get your first federal job, it doesn't matter as much. It's getting that initial one that's very hard. Once you get that first position, your foot is kind of in the door. It gets a little bit easier just because they see that you already have time and grade in.
Right. No, that makes sense. So as we close, do you have any recommendations or words of wisdom, not advice, words of wisdom to the young adult population who is getting ramped up to pursue their opportunities?
Yeah, so follow your dreams, take that chance. For me, coming here, it was out of my comfort zone. I moved from Connecticut here to Maryland. I left my family behind. I left my dog behind, just to follow my dreams, my passions. And that is a reality when you're in this age bracket. You have to kind of make those decisions. Don't be scared. Take that chance, and you can always go back home. You can always change your mind if you don't end up liking whatever position, career you're trying to pursue. Keep on putting yourself out there, and volunteer, work overtime, every opportunity that you can take it. I go out and I volunteer even outside of work in different environmental organizations because I'm still trying to build my resume too. Every experience counts.
Yeah.
And you know what? Even once you do get a job, ask your supervisor, is there anything else I can assist with outside of my job? See if you can work with different divisions, with different coworkers. Broaden your horizons. Don't limit yourself because you are capable of more than you think.
That is awesome. I love it. I love it. All right, Sarah, listen, I appreciate your time. This is a great conversation. And hey, if you're there next year, I'm sure we'll stop by and see you.
Great. Come visit.
Okay.
It was great to talk with you.
Give you a quick 1 second here. All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay.